The G20 asked the FSB to look at the potential impact of the risk. Why not look at the risks first? Can we measure the risk?
Yeah, I think that, well, this is a core point of the economics, if you will, of climate change, and we've used this term called the tragedy of the horizon, and used it for a purpose, which is that when I sit and in one of my roles and manage monetary policy, climate change doesn't come into the equation because we're managing to a 2 to 3 year horizon. When we manage most financial stability risk kind of out to a 5-year horizon, it's there and present for something like general insurance and reinsurance. So we have to think about it when we oversee them. But these guys are actually very good at managing it. They change the pricing, they change the coverage of insurance to adapt to climate change. The whole cat risk pricing in catastrophe bonds has changed dramatically over the course of the last few decades because they see the actual manifestations, physical manifestations of climate change. So we make sure, as supervisors, that they're on top of it. But in general, they are very much on top of it. And the fact that things roll over every year makes it easier to be on top of it as well. Where we see the biggest risk, though, is that as we roll forward, there are going to be changes in government policy. Climate policy will be made, unmade. That can have big effects on industries. Think of German utilities a few years ago as one example. There'll be change in technology. Think of what's happening with photovoltaics as another example, which will shift the competitive landscape quite quickly. And there will be, potentially, a pull forward and anticipation, because that's what markets do best, an anticipation of such changes. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? Who's going to benefit? Who's going to be penalized? If I'm allocating capital, I want to know. I want to have the information in order to make those judgments. And I also want to have some information, some perspective, soft information on who's thinking about this so I can make those qualitative judgments about management and risk management that often unlocks bigger value.